we can move on to this week's tip of the week, using ChatGPT and AI automation to basically effectively create content for you on your website.
Yeah, we've talked about member spotlight articles in several previous tips of the week, going into detail about what they should include and how you can go about providing them to your members, potentially selling them to your members. But up until now, it's really always been a manual process or a process that you would have to outsource to a copywriter or a freelancer, something like that. So with this tip of the week, we'll show you how you can create these member spotlight articles automatically for your members. And then really the only manual effort that would need to be put in on your part would be just reviewing the output from ChatGPT, making sure everything looks accurate and looks aesthetically pleasing on the front end of the site. But otherwise, it's all taken care of automatically. So this should be a pretty exciting, at the very least, somewhat interesting tip of the week to follow along with. And it's pretty easy to set up as well. Once it's set up, it's kind of set it and forget it.
And also about this, if you can grasp the concept of what we're covering here, it's going to just help with how you create web content altogether. Whether it's your Brilliant Directory site or another website property you have, this is going to be super helpful for you to just understand and how we're doing this, and that know that you can do this too.
So before we get into the steps for setting up the workflow automation, just quickly go over the benefits of Spotlight articles and what they are in case you aren't familiar with Spotlight articles. So it's basically just an article on your website that highlights a specific member within your directory or your community. So doing this, it can increase the online visibility and search engine ranking, not just for your members, because the more content they have about them indexed within Google, Bing, other search engines, the better. But it would also be a benefit for your website as well. If you have some prominent members within your community on your website and somebody's on Google searching for that specific member, your article on your website about them can also show up in those search results. This can also help to attract new customers and generate more revenue for your members, assuming they're individual professionals or businesses. It also enhances their brand image and their reputation, having this additional content written about them on a website other than their own. And it also provides valuable content in that they can share this additional content on your website, on their own social media channels, or also link to it on their website. It also helps them stand out from their competition. Again, if it's individual professionals or businesses that you have listed on your website, or if you have an association website, a member community for a group or something like that, you can also utilize these spotlight articles to recognize achievements of your individual members. So there's a lot of benefits that go along with these spotlight articles that feature and highlight individual members within your community. You can provide these for free. You can provide them as part of a paid premium membership plan that you're offering. You could also, charge your members an additional fee if they want to have a spotlight article written about them. So there are some ways to monetize this as well.
And also we're talking about spotlight articles, but really what we're going to show you today, and we see this a lot in the Facebook group. Somebody uploads, 5,000 business listings to their site. They're claimable listings now, but those pages aren't getting indexed because basically it's not meaningful content. It's what Google considers thin or duplicate content. It's the business name, their phone number, and their address. What we're going to show you today is one method where you can effectively add unique content to those thin pages and help more pages of your site rank in Google search results.
One last thing before we get into kind of showing how this works and how to set it up. Like I mentioned, we have talked about spotlight articles in some previous tips of the week. This was one in particular where we went into quite a bit of detail in what should be included within your spotlight articles and also how you can go about selling them to your members and using it as an additional revenue stream. Now we can go ahead and see a quick demo, see how this works in practice before we show the actual automation workflow and how to set it up.
Yeah, we're going to show you how it works first. I'm going to show you the slides that are upcoming just to let you guys know this is more intermediate advanced. We've heard a lot in the Facebook group. Some people want to go down the rabbit hole and figure out how to do this for their sites. Just a sneak peek, we're going to get to this afterwards, but these are some of the steps which we'll cover. But let's quickly see how this works. I think, David, the best way to do it may be to just sign up as a member to our demo site and see what we're talking about here.
I think so. Let's do that. And also, one quick note. Some people have brought up in recent weeks that Google wasn't necessarily, or in some cases, penalizing content generated by AI. They've recently kind of reversed that and updated their helpful content information. So content generated by AI, it's viewed the same as if it was written by a human, just as long as it's accurate and useful information. That's really all Google cares about.
Absolutely. And also, it could just not be a Google play. You're just, for visitors of your site or the content you're creating that make your members feel special, in this example, spotlight articles, there's inherent benefits of that as well to the actual user experience of visitors coming to your site and actually seeing content rather than really landing on thin pages, regardless if Google's going to still choose to rank those pages or not. And also, David, I've read, yeah, Google definitely values AI content. They just want it to be meaningful content that somebody is receiving. So that's based on the types of inputs you give it and the outputs that it's going to provide to you, and how you can integrate that into your website. A human touch at the end really goes a long way. So let's sign up as a free member to this site. And David, you shout out the name of the business and the name and everything. Let me just quickly make an email address here to sign up to this site. All right, we're signing up as a local business listing on this site. And I'm a lazy local business listing. I'm only going to put the bare bones information. I just want to see my name on a website like this. So let's go ahead and add the basic information. And David, you just shout it out and I'll go ahead and type it in here, what things are going to be.
Let's do home remodel, and first name can be Bill, last name, how about we do Smith? Any phone number would be fine. Company name, since this is a home remodel, how about we do Bill's Home Remodeling?
Okay, and the position?
I think Bill is the founder.
Founder, okay, founder and owner, we'll say. All right, let me just write a quick short description. And let's do 123 Main Street, and we'll do Detroit. Okay, we'll do Detroit, Texas. There we go. And so on. We'll stop right there. And oh, we're seeing this here. We'll talk about this in a second. I am in admin view, that's why we're seeing this, but let me save the changes. And if I go back and remove this sidebar here, that was a hidden field. We do not see that hidden field anymore. Member will not see that. So the member just saved their information. And what's happening right now is this information was sent into Zapier, and the data is going in there. It's checking to see if an article was previously written about this member using just this information. You could also do the same on the additional details tab, or just make one longer form in general. And what it's going to do, it's going to use the data points that Bill Smith entered in here, very basic information, and we've asked it to utilize ChatGPT to strum up an article using this information and then repost it on our website. So if we go to latest news now, we now have an article called Spotlight Article, Bill's Home Remodeling from Detroit, Texas. If we click on it, we now have an article with subheadings about Bill's home remodeling, et cetera, that ChatGPT used. And even at the end, we've included calls to action that link to their website homepage. And so we can ask it to do other things as well, link back to the profile and things like that. And we've set these to publish automatically. Of course, if you're doing this, you may want to set these articles to draft mode and then have human intervention, add images, links in the articles, modify them a bit, change it up a bit. You spend 10 or 15 minutes making it your own, dressing it up. And then of course, you can send the good news to the member on that they've been featured on your site, share it on social media, et cetera, et cetera. So David, where should we go from here? Because I want to do this the right way. Should we get into the steps now on how we accomplish this?
Yeah, let's do it. And the first step would be customizing the member contact details form in the BD admin.
Okay, perfect. So let's go to the admin area. And the first thing we're going to do, we saw that hidden field that I added, the Spotlight article. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Toolbox Form Manager. And you can do this on the contact details, or as I mentioned, the additional details form. So if we go to contact. This is the form that I customized in this case, listing contact details. It was a default form and we customized it for the site. And we only did one thing to this form. We went all the way to the bottom and we clicked add a new field under the submit button, and we just created a single line text field. The key here is when you click this cog, we want it to be an admin only field, meaning the member will never see this field when they're logged into the front end of your site. Only when you, the admin, visit the site using this orange button or logging in as the member from the admin area where we have that black sidebar on the left, only you will see this field. But this will hide this field. We called it Spotlight Article. You can call it whatever you want. We're going to save a value of 1 to this after ChatGPT writes an article the first time, so we know not to write an article multiple times about the same business or member. So step 1 here was to customize that listing contact details member field, add 1 field at the bottom. We called it Spotlight Article, and make it admin only. Perfect. The next thing we did, and this will work with Pabbly, Zapier, or Integrately. Those are kind of the 3 big integration platforms, which really just make things point and click. We're sending, when the member fills out that data of that form, we're sending it via a webhook. Basically, a webhook means when this form is filled out, send the data out of my website, and we're sending it to Zapier. So we're going to create a Zap, and we're going to do a webhook trigger. So this is what I created in Zapier. This is the order that we did it. We catch the webhook. We'll recreate this for you guys. Then we said only continue if the member has entered a few key pieces of information like their company, their name, their address. You can modify the if statement, only continue if. You can add more layers on there if you want, or you can keep it as light as you want. And also that value of 1 that we're saving in that Spotlight article, we're doing that at the very end here. I'll talk about that. It's not going to continue if we've already written an article about that member. The next thing we do is all the data that was in the webhook, we spin it in ChatGPT. We say, these are the data points, and we have the input you should give it. We'll share that with you guys. We say, ChatGPT, here are the data points. You're an SEO writer for a business directory site. Write an article about this business using only these data points and do not make any information up, etc., etc. After ChatGPT creates that article, we are creating a blog post on our Brilliant Directories website. And after we create the blog post, we are updating that user with a value of 1 that we've written a Spotlight article about them. So we're just saving that number 1. So later when it comes back to this step, if that member comes back and resaves this form over and over again, it's not going to create articles over and over again for that member. So creating the post based on ChatGPT's article output and then updating the user with the value of 1 so we don't recreate articles. Let's quickly recreate it from scratch, David. I'll keep this open on the side here. Let's duplicate this because I think if people can do this properly, it'll be a lot of high value. So we'll try to do it quickly. And remember, you can always watch the replay at your own speed. But let's create this from scratch, and we'll just kind of reference this, David. We'll go back and forth with this to keep us on the straight and narrow with that. So we're going to create a Zap, and they've recently modified their layout here. But what we're going to do is webhook, and webhooks by Zapier. And we see here on the left-hand side, the event will be catch a hook, basically catch the data coming in. We'll continue. We don't need a child key. We'll hit continue. And it gives us this URL. So we're going to copy this URL. And what we want to do is go to our Developer Hub, webhooks, and search for, in this case, we're doing that contact details form that the member fills out. This one here, the member profile forms. This is my old URL. I'll delete that and I'll paste it with the new one from the Zap and save the changes.
And you also want to make sure enable webhook is set to on when you do this.
That's right. Also, actually very important step is you want to do this with a test member first, and you want to log in as the admin and save that value of 1, that custom field that we added to the form, the Spotlight article. In order for Zapier to know that that form field exists, we need to save it for 1 member first. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in as a member here. And this could be a sample member in this case. We'll go to basic information and I'll scroll down again. This is that admin sidebar here. This is going to allow us to see the admin only fields here. So we have Spotlight article. We want to save a value here. So do it on a test member. That way, when we go to Zapier, this custom field is going to be available to select there. Let me just choose a couple of the things. I think that was an important step as well. Okay, so we did a webhook. We actually saved that field. So now we can test the trigger because we did technically save a member there. And here it is here. It was that test Jason H. That's right. Let's go back and check it out here. Basic information. Yep, Jason H, JJ, phone number is 555. So it did capture that information, and we will continue here. So we're good. The webhook's working. The next action is going to be only continue if. So we're going to do a filter, only continue if, and we're going to do a few things. So that spotlight field, only continue if the spotlight field, choose condition, does not exist, meaning there's no value saved in it for that member. We haven't saved a one yet for it. So this member is okay to write an article about. So, and this is where we can only do it for members who have filled out, more comprehensive information. So we can say the first name, and we'll go to just the first name exists. Here, exists is at the bottom. And we can say company name exists. So company name exists, and so on and so forth. So we can say city name exists. So this way we're writing articles about members who have probably written or filled out the majority of those fields. And you can educate your members during the welcome email process to, if they want an article written about them, to complete all the fields that are there, or figure out a way to kind of share that information with them about how they can get qualified to have a spotlight article written about them. And this will encourage more people to complete their profiles rather than kind of halfway filling out their information. So again, you can continue down here and make as many fields as you want required from that contact information form. I'll just do one more here and do state. And we'll do state long name. Okay, so we'll stop it there. Okay, great. So let's see. Your Zap would not have continued for this test if this was because I already had a Spotlight Article 1 because I manually set that, but just showing for this test. But now we can continue here. And the next thing we're going to do is the conversation with ChatGPT. So let's type ChatGPT. Now you have to have a ChatGPT account, and not the one where you chat with it online. You want your OpenAI account. You go to ChatGPT, and we've already connected our account in Zapier with our API key, and we'll continue here. So choose an event, it's conversation. So we're going to do conversation as the event, and we'll continue. We're connected to our account. We'll continue here, and the user message. So we actually have some things here. We'll share this prompt with you. So there's two things you need. The instructions over here, assistant instructions. We've written some instructions here. It says you are an SEO copywriter, etc. I will provide you with information about a specific person or business. You will create a spotlight article, etc., etc. And then we tell it some things like you will leverage the name, company name, location, all data points, and to create a 500-word SEO-friendly, diverse bio of the business in a positive light without inventing false statements about the business. We've also told it to include subheadings and titles, and also to use HTML tags such as paragraphs, H2 headings, H3 headings, ULs and LIs are bullet lists, and As are links. So this way it can create the article and it'll be styled up nicely in your blog. And then we say always start articles with 2 intro paragraphs because sometimes it wants to start with a heading and that doesn't look good in the article. So we're telling it to start with 2 paragraphs. And just a bit more about the structure. This article is for SEO, use the company's name and location generously, etc. So we're going to paste this as the assistant instructions. Perfect. And then we have to give it our first input. So our first input is going to be the business information. So I'll show you quickly how to do an easy way to do that. Let me paste this in the chat as well. This is a big piece of text here. Okay, and we'll come back here. So the AI has its instructions. Then what we want to do is the user message. That's our first message when it's chatting with it. So we're going to say first business to write about. Let me see if I can just copy this here. first business to write about, and then it uses all the shortcode values from the webhook data points. I don't think my copy and paste works in this case because they're from another thing, but let me just share this with you guys and show you what you will do. And the more data points you could feed it in your initial response, the better, because it will have more data to write about. So let's just clear these out and quickly add them back in. So if we click on name, and if we scroll down here again, the UI in this new Zapier thing is not good, but let's just work around it. So name, we want to do the catch webhook. So first name, and we'll put a space, and we'll do last name. Perfect. Company name. Yeah, the other ones were yellow. See, these are white because it was each, you got to do it for your own site. So company, and this is going to be, this is what we're telling ChatGPT the first time, saying this is the first business to write about. The position, so again, we can just go through this exercise and map the data points of the first input. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all these because you need to do it for your own, but I am going to copy this here. And again, you can put this with a colon and then the data point value. So let's paste this over here. And that I just pasted in the chat is your user message, but make sure that you are adding the variables from the webhook. So first name again, I'm not going to go through all of them, but that is what you would. And that's all you have to do for ChatGPT. So we can just continue. If it lets us get out of this, let's see what it's asking us for. Continue. Perfect. So ChatGPT is done now. We've given it its AI instructions, and then we give it our first input, which is this is the business to write about. And it's going to be dynamic. Every time a business saves their information, that's the data that it's going to write about. And then the next thing we're going to do is create a post in the Brilliant Directories website. So we have another action. We're going to select Brilliant Directories, and this is always fun. Great shout out to the BD dev team for this integration you guys have created. So we're going to create posts, super easy. I'm going to continue. It's hooked up to our BD site. We're going to do our webinar demo site, and it will just connect in a second, and we'll continue. So now we're going to create a post based on the ChatGPT output. So here we go, create post, and we get a drop-down list of all our post types. So in this case, we're doing a blog article post. Now, also what you can do is if you create a field for the member, another hidden admin field, you could add this to the member's profile page. So if you've imported claimable listings, instead of creating this as blog posts, add this content to the member's profile page instead. You can update the user instead of creating a post. But here we go. So choose blog article type. You do need the post author. So in our case, you put the member ID on your site. I'll show you that in a second. If we go to our demo site here, and if we look for the admin blog contributor, that's who's going to be the author of these blog articles. And his member ID is 3. So we'll continue with that. That's why post author user ID is 3. Publish status, this is what we're referring to. You might want to set these to draft as first because you want that human touch added to them, adding images, more internal or external links, and maybe modifying some of the output text that ChatGPT has created. Or you can set it to publish. It just depends how comfortable you are with what the output is and what you're doing on your site. So in our example, we'll just set it as published. And the post title, we can create the title. So we've been doing Spotlight member, and you can create another ChatGPT to output a title for said article and then use that as the value. In this case, we'll do Spotlight member. We'll use our webhook. We'll do the company name and their location from, and we'll do the city, comma, the state. So that's going to be kind of a uniform title for these articles. Again, you can do another ChatGPT spin and then use that value for the article title, maybe make things a little more diverse. Okay, and then the post content is going to be our conversation, our ChatGPT output. Looks like I didn't complete that step. Let's go complete that step. We need to test the step. And what we're going to use, our user message was first business to write about, name, Jason, etc. If it's missing data, it's missing data. But let's see if it can write an output for this. And it's thinking. Okay, there we go. It looks like it's done. Let's see if it outputted an article. And it did. And the value of this ChatGPT, let me scroll up again. The UI in Zapier is horrible for this. I don't know why they recently did this, but here It is the content from it. So it starts here in a P tag. Jason is an exceptional individual, et cetera, et cetera. This is the article here. So let's continue and go back to our, we could skip the test now. I think we can go back to our creating post, and the post content will be the ChatGPT. And what we want is the reply. So look for reply. We can see the P tag it starts there. That is the article. So that's what the post content is going to be, is the reply from ChatGPT. And we're done. Unless you want to add more post featured images and things like that, you could ask post tags. If you want to create a comma separated list of the person's first name, last name, their location, things like that, you can obviously add tags to the post. But we'll keep it simple. We'll just continue. And we're going to do one more step. This is the important step so that we don't get multiple articles written on the same user. So we're going to do another action, which is Brilliant Directories. And this was the reason we added that Spotlight article form field and customized that form. So right now we're going to do an event. We're going to update the user. And we only care about one thing here, or two things. One is attributing it to the user's ID, and that's based on the webhook, the original webhook data. So we're going to go to custom in this case, the catch webhook, and we're going to search for user. User ID in this case was 193 created. Okay, just want it once. And the last thing we want, and the reason we had to save that once on a sample member is so we can see that Spotlight article field here. We want to set this to 1. So after it goes through this once, we're going to save a value of 1, and we know in this step here only continue if there's no value saved for this field. So we're not going to get multiple articles written about the same person. So we'll continue, and we can test the step, and we're done. I know we did a lot of explanation, and there was it's a little finicky here with that new UI that they have, but we are now ready to create articles as soon as members sign up to our site. Now, some things you can do, I'll go back here to the slides. These were the actions here. Again, I pretty much went step by step as much as I could. Hopefully most of it was clear. So just some bonus tips.
Yeah, so you'll most likely want to review the output that was generated by ChatGPT. Just make sure everything's accurate and that it includes all of the information and details that you want it to. A good thing to do with this is to set the default post status when you're setting up the workflow in Zapier. Set that to draft and not publish. So it'll still automatically create the article, and you can access it when you log in and view the article. It just won't be published, so it won't be live on your website immediately. You'll also probably want to include some additional details that might have been left out by ChatGPT. This ultimately depends on the information that it's provided with. So maybe you'll want to add some additional fields to the form that you're using. But when you go back and take a look at the article that ChatGPT generates, you might want to add some images or embed some videos about the member. If it's a professional individual or a business, you might want to grab a review from their profile on your site, or maybe a testimonial from their own website or another review site, and add that in to the article. Also add in some relevant calls to action. This will depend on the overall purpose of your website, but if it's a business directory, maybe you want to include some calls to action within the article itself, directing readers to leave a message or contact the specific member. And then also, depending on what information you're providing to ChatGPT in the article that it's creating, you might find some places where you can insert some internal or even external links into the article. You might also want to set a delay in the Zapier automation workflow so that the article isn't created immediately. If you're going to be automatically publishing these articles, by adding, maybe a 3, 4, 5 day delay between when the member completes that contact details form, and when the article is actually published, that can make it seem like some actual human work went into crafting the article, and add some value to it that way. And then what you might also want to do is include an action to automatically notify your member, automatically send them an email letting them know that a Spotlight article has been published about them and include a link so that they can quickly access and view the article published on your site.
Yeah, I like the 3 points here, setting it to draft mode, giving it the human touch, and then emailing the member or having Zapier email the member, setting a delay in Zapier before it does all this. And then of course, now you have content for newsletters, social media, your site for Google, and it's really all done automatically for you as members join your site. And also again, you don't have to save this as a blog post. You could resave it as an updated field in the member's profile. So this extra content shows up on their profile page. And also in addition to this, it doesn't have to be for all your members. This can be a boost or an upsell that you sell to premium members, and you just need to tell them how to do it. If they've already filled out the information and they were a free member, have them upgrade to be a premium member and just hit that save button again on their contact details form, and the article would get created on their behalf. I know it was a little technical. We went down the rabbit hole a bit. Hopefully it wasn't too complicated. It was within the realm of what majority of us can or need to do it. But it is technically repurposing data that's being inputted into your BD website, bare bones data, might I say, having ChatGPT zhuzh it up and kind of make it into a conceptual article and then reposting it to your BD website.